Yes, so let's zoom in like that. So the first design principle we're gonna be talking about is unity. Design principle called unity. Or some people call it, let me log this. Some people call it consistency. Let me try that again. Some people call it consistency. Let me consistency. So some people call it consistency. And then let me expand this. So we have consistency. So unity refers to maintaining a consistent visual style throughout the interface. So this is all about maintaining a consistent visual style. For some of us that use our banks have a certain logo color that they stick to. Yeah, and so it's like, for example, let's use the example of web our website here. You can see that we try to be consistent in the text and how our text is being used and our packages. For example, I don't, come and make this one very long, like here, and then just displace this one there. That will make this graphic design. And UI is not graphic design. I should know graphic designer. So that is, one of the things I did. But yes, this is really, how everything should flow. That's what you're looking at. So you can see everything is it's in sync. You can see the packages are not displayed, they are all here, and then the ratings and everything, the name too. So you can see that everything is all about making sure that your listens are consistent. They are consistent. Yeah. When you need to talk about your typography, that's your text. Now let's look at this my text here. You can see that in my font, I stuck to one particular font, Inter, and you can see for the Titan Leap Academy, the top heading part, you can see. So if you want to be sure, you can you can check it. You can check, how it all goes. So that is it. Let me click it, this text now. So if I zoom down, you'll be able to see. Let me change it. If I zoom down, you'll be able to see the properties of this text. So if I zoom it's a property, let me drag this thing down. Sorry. So you can see the properties of this text. For example, you see the fonts, the listing, and it was put here. I wanted to let you guys know that they are all consistent fonts. So this is what we are still talking about: consistency, maintaining the same kind of fonts, among all interfaces, all your UI interfaces is very, very important. So the next part of the course is to handle next part of it. So you can see from this, you can read, and understand that this includes consistent colors. So your colors need to be consistent. Your typography, your icons, your spacing, your spacing. We're going to be talking about that. And so consistency builds a sense of familiarity and reduces cognitive load. What they're trying to say is like reducing the load of trying to remember. Now let's take another trip to this thing. You can see that this was the first page I designed, and then you can see the second page. You can see that I made this basic page white. I'm consistent in this thing. So this is to show consistency. So I keep using the same white background, and white overflow. This is the background is also an overlay of this white. You can see this thing. So I stick with that. So if I want to play this component, I want to play it. Let's play it and let's see how it goes. So let's see how it goes. I think I'll do this draft. Let's see how it all goes. So So you can see our Titan Leap Academy profile, and then you can see, how, let's make sure everything is in place. So you can click, different aspect of all of this, and then have everything stay in place to you. So that is it about it. So we are just consistent. So you can see when I click free class, the color doesn't change, still stays the same. The structure may change, but everything, minimally just stays the same all through the process. So that is it. That is how everything, works. So I'm consistent through my flow. So I want you, if you're designing, it's important to also be consistent with your flow. Don't like design with a different color and different text and everything. If you do that, you're trying to be a graphic designer. It should not work out. It's not the best career path to be. If you want to be a graphic designer, you can do that. But if you try and do that as premium graphic designing, my design graphics too, like I said, but remember you're designing for users, not for just so that I can design so users can use. So the next one we're going to talk about is the contrast. So contrast is one of the most common design principles. You won't find it in graphic design. Is that basically it has to do with involves differences in visual elements like colors. It's just like with elements. For example, you can see that in these elements right here are showing contrast. Why? Because one is having more. The contrast helps to identify, helps element to stand out. You can see that this interbold here, based on that, if you look at this, let me use this pencil. You look at these two here, you can see this interbold shows, the this interbold is showing you, your contrast and everything. And then you can see this one. You can see the differences within these two texts. They are very, very different. Yeah. So they are very, very different texts. So you want to make sure that your work is like that. That's what I will admonish you to do. So you can see it's displaying contrast and every other thing. So the next one we're going to, so that is it about um you know the this thing, contrast. So it's just showing, you can show contrast with color, you can show it with size, you can show it even with typography. So this kind of contrast is contrast with typography. You can see this is contrast with typography. But when you talk about colors can be, you can see the way this white and black shows. This white and black. So let me show you an example of something that has a low contrast. Let's go to your move to, and then if I click this, and then I shift this thing, and then I just bring this down, I bring this down. And then I change this contrast to a lighter color. Can you now see how the contrast between this and this is, this has low contrast, this one has high contrast with respect to this white color at the background. You understand? So that is it. So the next, you can see that even this small graphic I placed here, you can see the contrast. That's low contrast to this. Okay, because I'm trying not to draw attention to it. So you have elements like this. So you can show it with color, you can show it with size, you can show it with all other, different nice elements like that. So you can also do it with buttons. Yes. You can use yes, you can see a dark text on a light background. You can see this is exactly what you did here with this contrast. We can do that. You can definitely do that. And just show contrast, because contrast helps the user to be able to identify things. Like it enhances readability for content that you want your users to actually see, because your users need to be able to see your content to be able to use it. So that's why we introduce contrast. They can use, so it's to enhance readability and user interaction. Like, what is an app if people don't use it? So it doesn't make any sense. So going back, that is what we are talking about. So that is it about contrast. You can show contrast with colors and different types of it. Like a white text like this black text on a white background. You can see like this example. So that is it. So the next one, next principle It's called hierarchy. I don't believe my spelling of hierarchy is correct. Let me edit that, please. Hierarchy. And now hierarchy, it's simply establishing a clear order of importance. But now hierarchy is all about importance. What is the most important element? And hierarchy understands that the most important elements, guides users. So the most important element guides users' attention. That's what hierarchy understands. So if we have, if we want, you can see it guides users' attention to the most critical and important information first. Okay, so we are simply trying to, let me do this into three. Yes, three. You are simply trying to, guide our users' information with this, or you can make them select the most critical information first. So you can see that from this, we are not trying to guide users' attention to the most critical information first. So proper hierarchy helps users navigate the interface effortlessly and find what they are looking for. So proper hierarchy, so if you wanted to know if your hierarchy, for instance, was correct and you did the right thing, you will discover that it has to help users navigate. If it doesn't help users navigate the interface effortlessly, then to find what they're looking for, then it's not a proper, can't call it a proper hierarchy. Like if we check this out file, we can see that it's very visible for the users to navigate with what they want to actually do. Understand? So they can see less, they can do this and then go back and then see less. They can see all and they can see less. So this thing should be such that when we're talking about contracts, you start from the most important. What's the most important thing in this lesson now? Titan Leap Academy. So it's showing you, so you can see that every other information falls under Titan Leap Academy. Imagine now there was no guide, there was no Titan Leap Academy. You just saw this and then you now saw packages. It will make no sense to the user because the users need to understand what is this information about. That's why at the topmost part, we give the utmost importance to Titan Leap Academy. So that it's very important that we do that. So guide users' attention to the most critical information first. So that's what proper hierarchy does. Now, this one we don't want to talk about this one, but I feel it's very important if you want to design. It's called white space, or negative space. Basically, what white space does is, is the empty space. For example, if I look at this my UI and I ask you a simple question, what is the I ask you what is the white space here? It's simply the space where there are no elements. You understand? Like here now, let me clear this. I want to this. You can see that here in the distance from here. Let me use this thing. Distance from here to here. To here. You can see that there's some space here in the distance from here to here. Let me draw it properly. Here to here. You can see there's some space. You can also see that there's some space here. Very important to keep these spaces. Very, very important. You can also see there's some space here. So you see there's some space here. This is what I want us to really observe. You can see from here to here there's still some space. Let's make this, there's space here, there's space here. There's always space here. You can see there's a lot of space here too. So from here to here too, there's some space. From here to here. No, so what if you look at all these things, you can see that since I drew this red thing, you can see it looks a little bit like it's like it's covered up, like there's some information there. So you can also see from this downside, if I zoom in and I use my hand and I use this you can see that there's still space. So what exactly are we trying to do with this thing? We are trying to enhance readability. We are trying to, because the more space you have, the more that the clients can, your users can understand you. Understand? So you can see it helps create a balance and a cluttered design. You can see that from this, you can see like from you have drawn the line, everything looks cluttered and looks unbalanced. Like why is there a red line falling through all this? Okay, you understand. And there's and you notice there's always space everywhere. There's space. So I'm simply helping to create a balance listen, from here, and then there's another space from here to here. So very important stuff for we're talking about. Very important. So you can see it can help, create a balanced design, and it's making the content easier to read and understand. So what are we trying to do? We're making the content, whatever our content is, we're trying to make it easier to read and understand. So I'm marking these spaces out so that in your assessment you can. I say the file will be free. So when we talk to the team, so the file will definitely be free for everybody to experiment and see what they want to do. And what's the whole yeah, we're making it to read and understand, okay, so that the users can make a decision. Imagine you came to a website, you couldn't really buy now. Like you wanted to buy something on Dreamer, but the button for buy wasn't even showing. Like let me give you an example. Let's say I make something like this. Let's say I make something like this. Let's say you went to Jumia site and I believe you know Jumia. Okay, if you don't know, maybe Amazon or something, and you saw buy now. You can see that many principles are at work. Like you can see the contrast principle is at work, and the white space principle is also at work. So imagine I made this thing, something like this, and the buy now, you came to my site. You came to my site and you wanted to buy now. And you just came to my site and you're scrolling like, "Bro, where is the buy now? Like, I can't see no buy now." You get, so this is where contrast as the skill really works, and then hierarchy too works, because you can see there's no real buy now. And then imagine, what is worse? Guess what is worse is when I make it exactly the same color so that the user cannot see. But maybe in my mind, it's one fresh design, you get one nice concept and add it to it. No, when you're designing for the users to see and make actual decisions. So this is just an example, but so you don't want to ever, when you're designing for your website, you want to make sure that a component stands out. Especially the most important component. You don't make all the components stand out. You make sure your most important components stand out. So that being said, we are moving to font. Interbold. So these were some of the tools I use. I use Interbold 26 points. I use Interbold 26 point. I use Intermedium. You can see it here. Let me use a pencil so that they can use Interbold. I use Intermedium. I use Interregular. Let me zoom in. So I used all these fonts, and you can see, what can you see? You can see unity because my font style remains the same. So let's also imagine, so that is it about. I don't want to take too much time. I feel it's taking quite some time. So these are the fonts, these are the pictures. So in our next class, we're going to be talking about how, wow, 30 minutes. We're going to be talking about how we can, do more, just immediately after design principles, we'll start building. So expect us to build in our next class. We talked about design principles in first part and the second part. Next part is, the this last part here, the building of the UI. Thank you so much for your time.